Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 6 questions in 9 minutes because leaders know how to be concise. We'll go ahead and get started with today's guest. First question, as always, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. I appreciate you having me on the show. My name is Tom Flynn. I have a couple things going on right now, all related to marketing. I head up marketing for a really exciting financial technology firm based in the healthcare space called SpendMend. That is an outfit out of Michigan, but they let me work my California office. I'm also the host of a podcast that we have 2 or 3 episodes per month called TMI. That's 2-minute interviews on LinkedIn. And finally, I have a marketing consultancy for about the last decade or so called Izaros Consulting, where I get to work with usually small, medium-sized businesses across the globe to help them create their initial go-to-market strategy. So I've been very busy, but I'd say my first love is the work that I'm doing with SpendMend. Really love that company and taking them to market, especially now serving healthcare.
Fantastic. Question number 2, what's the best thing about working with a team?
Mm-hmm. I saw this question come across when you sent me the pre-read for this interview. And this is my favorite question. I think the best thing about working with the team is the camaraderie, hands down. I probably would have had a different answer, say 10 years ago, or maybe even 5 years ago. But I have some experience in working in sports and even in theater. And if I look back at all those memories from when I was younger, from years ago, yeah, you enjoy the wins, you enjoy the successes, the productions you put up. But consistently, what you always remember is the barbecue after the season or the cat's party after opening night. It's always going to be the camaraderie, meeting people, getting to know them, creating a lifelong friend, having that bond. So I thought about this. I thought about the productivity, the work that you do. I thought of all those things, but everything pales in comparison to just making friends and having that camaraderie on a day-to-day basis.
It's definitely a big deal for a lot of people to have that network of people and that friendship and that camaraderie, as you point out. So I completely agree, and that is a critical and key component to any successful team. So great information.
I sometimes worry if it's not professional enough, if the idea of being in a team is building something. But if I'm being honest, Sean, it's just having those friends, it's just having those people around you that you get fond of and you care for.
Well, there's certainly a balance, and you need both.
Right,
So
right.
Productivity as well as good culture and good camaraderie. So great information. Question number 3, I hear from other leaders of teams that it can be a challenge to get team members engaged. Tell us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it is a challenge. Of course it is. I mean, there's the old saying that if you love what you do, you never need to work. And I feel like it's so unlikely that people come to work and they absolutely love what they do. Work is something we typically do to facilitate, the life we want to live or our life outside of work. And just being realistic about that, people often find themselves making a lot of sacrifices at work and doing things maybe they didn't want to do. So to get a team truly engaged requires a lot of effort, especially now. We've seen a shift in the last 10 years for sure, going back more than that, with the rise of social media and how interconnected the world becomes. There's so much diversion above and beyond what our work tasks are. And people have social media profiles where they start becoming like sort of the master of their domain, and they become the voice out to the market. And it's so easy to draw your attention away from what somebody else is asking you to do at work based on your own interests or your own voice or your own community. So yeah, it's very difficult to get a team engaged right now.
Great comments. Well, question number 4, what other advice do you have for leaders of teams?
Mm-hmm. So this is a kind of like shooting the moon. Like you have to give a lot of leeway. I really practice an approach and a policy of empowerment. I'm going to butcher this quote. I'm absolutely going to butcher this. I could have gone online and researched this better, but Steve Jobs said some words to the effect of, I don't hire smart people and tell them what to do. I hire smart people and they tell me what they're going to do, and they tell me what to do. And I really believe in that. I feel like if you bring people on, even if you're their manager, you should bring them on sort of at a peer level or as peers. Being a boss is never about being the best. It's about bringing out the best, or it's never about being right. It's about getting it right. And you require a team to hit your maximum potential. So when it comes to managing a team, and certainly in light of what I said before about how hard it is to get a team engaged, I say empower people. Ask people what they want to do, what are they interested in, give them a say in what the annual goals are, what their MBOs are. Ask them what's going to keep them engaged and passionate. And with as much leeway as possible within the scope of the goals you've created, let them run with it. Don't micromanage it. Let them just enjoy their experience. They have to stay engaged. And it tracks back to everything we talked about camaraderie before, and wanting them to be a gainful part of the team. That empowerment is key.
Great comments. And you said a minute ago that things have changed in the last 10 or so years, and I completely agree. Everything that I've observed and researched and experienced, it used to be kind of the command and control model where you told people what to do, and it's changed. And I think Steve Covey was one of the early pioneers kind of helping that shift. But you're absolutely right. To empower people is significantly more impactful for a whole bunch of reasons that we won't go into today. But a great comment, and I appreciate you sharing that. Well, question
Sean,
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go right ahead.
I keep extending it. I just get so excited. I would rather, what I found for me, and this works only in my experience, it's better to get a little bit wrong in the spirit of empowering people and letting them learn on their own than it is to use that command and control. It's better to let people come to their own conclusions. What do they say? A smart person learns from their mistakes, but a genius learns from other people's mistakes. Nobody's going to learn from what you tell them. They're going to learn from what they do. And eventually they'll come around. Even if you wanted them to do a little bit more left than right, they'll come around if they figure it out on their own that, oh, it doesn't work this way. But to just put your finger on them and to tell them to do that way, as much as that's reasonable to an extent, if you know it's right, letting them learn on their own, creates a lifelong partner in that sense. Again, sorry to top your comment, but no. Like I said,
great comments. I could not agree more. So I appreciate you adding that in there. Well, question number 5, what other successful team leaders, such as yourself, would you like to recognize that have had a positive influence in your life?
Right. So I would say my sister, Nicole Flynn. She's also a marketing professional. She's works as a consultant, works for a couple different companies. She's with a really, really interesting outfit right now, which I won't mention their name. But she's taught me a lot in terms of taking a product and an idea to market. She's got that great left-right brain balance where there's a lot of creativity, but then there's a lot of science and discipline. And I think she brings that split brain out as good as I've seen anybody else do it. So if I have to recognize maybe someone you'd want to talk to, or just someone who's been a huge influence on me, I would say it's been my sister, and just the way she's gone about her career and everything that she's done for the companies she's worked for.
What a great recommendation. I'd love to talk to her, but I've had parents and I've had other mentors and leaders, but I think you're the first one to announce or recognize their sister. So I think that's fantastic. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah, she's fun. She's really funny too. Yeah, she's cool lady.
Great, thank you. Well, last question. Tell us a little bit about your first job.
So my first job, I've had so many jobs. I've had so many crazy jobs. My first one was, I was an intern, a glorified gopher coffee getter for KRUZ television station in Santa Cruz, where I followed around sort of this like cult hero at this television station, Rusty Reed. And I carried the camera for him, and I wound up the cables when he was doing camera work. And I just kind of did a little bit of, fetching coffee and straightening up papers and making copies at their offices. And I spent 2 summers in a row doing this, driving around in the truck, going to events, helping make commercials. And it was just like the most glorious work experience of my life. I don't even think I got paid at all. It just was a fantastic experience, a fantastic job.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Excuse me. And Tom, thank you also for being on the podcast today. How can people find you?
Simple to find. I should have had my LinkedIn handle memorized, but what I will say is If you go to LinkedIn and search Tom Flynn, Flynn, and then there's a lot of us. There's so many Tom Flynns, and it's actually very humbling to try to search me online because there's like 58 pages on Google before I even show up. So that lets you know. But check Izaros Consulting. So if you check Tom Flynn and Izaros Consulting, Izaros, you'll definitely find me. And then also I would encourage, if you want to reach out to me or learn about me, check out the website izaros.com. That's probably the best way to get in touch with my work history and to reach out to me if there's anything you want to ask or there's anything you want to know.
Great. Thank you again. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, you can search us on LinkedIn by searching Blue Sky Business Consulting. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you, Sean.